Hello everybody, hello and welcome back to the OS World Cup 2024. We are continuing on our quarterfinals stage just after that insane dominant win from South Korea on Hong Kong with a 6-0 fashion. First time since 2018, 6 years ago was the last time since we saw a 6-0 in quarterfinals. We are back once again with a match that I think Dio and I really hope is a lot closer. Norway and Indonesia, Seed 12 versus Seed 18. A lot more potential for this one to potentially have a draw. And like I said earlier, I'm Shiba, joined by the wonderful Dio for this match once again.
Yeah, good to be back, Shiva. It's good to be back. Another interesting match here. Norway versus Indonesia. 6 seeding difference between these two teams. These are both teams that this year have had a little bit of trouble in the bracket stage. Indonesia in the round of 32, Norway in the round of 16. Both of them, I think, trying to live up to the performance from the qualifiers that they were able to show. Norway, especially in qualifiers, looked very, very strong. Indonesia, I think, a lot higher expectations of this team coming into the tournament than the 18th seed they were able to show in the qualifiers. So both of these teams with something to prove here in the losers bracket. You have Jokspie, Anthony W, Fjell, Hunder coming back for Norway, Melver, Nanalini, Neneric, and Zubs. Zubs a new addition for their team as well. Indonesia with Lifeline, Dido, Fuma, Hakui Koyori, Mindfrost ID, Rosemi Lovelock, Styx, and that noob guy on the roster.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at the Norway roster and think, yeah, this team's improved a lot. Indonesia did lose a couple notable players. Norway as well did lose a couple notable players. I think most notably in GN, who unfortunately at COE broke his one tournament rule and in turn is not playing for Norway because he played in that gimmick tournament at COE. But regardless, it doesn't really matter. You know, Norway's roster is still incredible. Has a really good set of both mechanics and reading potential. I think most notably, decent amount of control on this team as well. I feel like Norway, in terms of skill set depth, are definitely the more diverse team on this matchup. But Indonesia, although recently have seen a lot of struggle in the bracket stage, have had a history of being a very strong and very consistent early stage team. Unfortunately, that notion has not been proven recently, but maybe this is the time that flips around. The hopium is still there for Indonesia fans, so huff that as much as you need, because there is potential for this to be a really, really good match. And I'm looking forward to see what the picks and bans are going to be, because I feel like although some may be obvious, others are very much in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a lot of the picks in this match come down to the team's reading of each other. My read, of course, is that Indonesia is going to be stronger on the aim and the aim control, which we do see Norway ban out the Nomad 1 to start things off. And that Norway then is going to be stronger on the speed and the hidden reading, as well as some of the tech maps in this pool. So definitely expecting Indonesia to at least start off, with those reading bans, the Nomad 5 and the hidden 2 banned out from the side of Indonesia. Not really surprising whatsoever. And probably another aim or alt ban here from Norway. I would think either the Hard Rock 1 or the Nomad 3, and it is going to be that Hard Rock 1, so not surprising whatsoever with the bans. And it seems the teams have the same read of each other that we have of them, Shiba. So first pick, Indonesia, probably going either with something like the Free Mod 1, or maybe the Nomad 3, maybe the Hard Rock 3, maybe the DT2, one of these more alt aim control focused picks in the pool, as the 2 aim consistency maps really banned out at this point. Of course, DT1, you usually expect it to be aim, but it's quite bursty. Ignite by Aoi Air, mapped by Frostborn in 2014. Classic farm map from Sword Art Online in the, I think that's second season, might be first season.
Second season
there. Second season, thank you. Yeah, a little bursty in that map, so probably a little more Norway favored than not. And of course, the hidden one, Norway, a very, very good hidden team that is AR9 awkward aim as well. So the density on that really is a huge factor in the map. So Indonesia, I don't think actually want to pick that. I think they'd be much better off picking into stuff like the Nomad 3, the Hard Rock 2, the Hard Rock 3, the DT2, and maybe DT4, and definitely the Free Mod 1 in this match.
If there's any hopium I have in this match so far, Dio, is that we get to see Free Mod 3. I still haven't had the joy and the privilege to be able to cast the Big Black in OWC, and I hope I get that happen today. Although a little unlikely, we could see something. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, you're right. I definitely agree with the points that you put up there. With those two main strong aim consistency picks taken away here from Indonesia, I feel like their ability is going to be thinned down just a little bit, but you do still have a couple options. You didn't mention a few maps here from Norway that could be good, but I feel like Free Mod 1 could be a good option here for Indonesia. I think Hard Rock 2, depending on how they feel on their precision, because I know generally they don't have too notable of a Hard Rock roster, but this is very simply precision aim. If you do have strong enough raw aim on that, you could do some magic on that one. Ignite, depending on how you feel as well, is going to be a bit more of a clash. It's a little more speedy, so although definitely Norway favored, a good valid pick there from Indonesia. But it seems like the opening pick here for Indo is going to be that Free Mod 1. It is going to be Entrance. The Ice Cult custom, no, not custom map. This is a different difficulty of an older map from Corsace Open. It was it was same set, different map.
Yeah, the second top diff, it was, I think, AR 8.5 CS4 or CS5, something like that. So, yeah, it's quite a little bit different here. This one's far more mechanics focused. It is mapped in triplicate, so mapped in 1/3, which means it usually comes out to 270 BPM. But there's very few bursts in this map. There's a couple near the end, but most of this is going to be effectively 135 BPM alt snapping patterns. So you're either playing them as 270 BPM low spacing jumps or as 135 snap alt, whatever you feel more comfortable with on this sort of a map. And CS 3.3, AR 9.6, relatively comfortable for both the hidden and hard rock. This is kind of the comfort mod sort of map, whether you're most comfortable on the no mod, the hidden, the hard rock. Probably different from player to player, and we're going to see, I think, a lot of different players taking different mods on this one. Yokespie in for Norway, Melver in for Norway, probably on the hidden, and maybe the no mod could be a hard rock for Melver, but really I expect that hard rock to go on Neneric once he shows up in the lobby, if he shows up here. As for Indonesia, Lifeline, Fuma, Dito, and Hakwi Koyori in here for the Indonesian team. Hakwi Koyori potentially on the hidden, Dito potentially on something like the hard rock or hidden hard rock. Could be Lifeline on the hard rock or hidden hard rock as well. There goes Neneric, and there's Zubs for Norway. Zubs also potentially able to take the hidden for this roster if Yokespie feels more comfortable on the no mod, but with Yokespie in the lobby, you're really expecting him to take the hidden for this team.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think you've made the right call here. Considering that this map is CS 3.3, AR 9.6, I think it's definitely more plausible to see maybe a hard rock overmod, but it doesn't really change the fact that considering how short the map is, it is also very dense in its difficulty. You're going to be seeing quite consistent difficulty bits in this map, and it's pretty comfy in its mods, like I said before, but it's a lot of snappy cut, heavy aim control, entirely mapped in 1/3 is another note, so a little bit of that control is implemented purely off of that alone. But the mods that we see here are very much what we most likely predicted here. Yokespie on the hidden, Zubs Melva on the no mod. Any of those three members from Norway could have really popped out that hidden there. They are all very capable, with Neneric on his hard rock. I think a player who's improved so much between these last two World Cups, most notably in his versatility, still to this day highly regarded to be the strongest individual speed player in the tournament scene, but now starting to become a much more well-rounded player himself. Coming for the hard rock here for Norway, with Lifeline coming in, the high skill ceiling player for Indonesia, popping that hard rock, with Dito on the hidden, Kokiri and Fuma to battle Melva and Zubs on this no mod. We're already seeing a couple early misses, but nothing really too notable. Only Melva so far, so only one early miss, not multiple. But granted, there is still a lot of potential here as we get into it. Boss music rings, misses start to come through, and it's Melva and Lifeline to drop the opening misses here from both sides. The hard rock combo notably here from Indonesia is going to go down, and that's going to give the lead a little bit more in favor of Norway. But look at this scaling, look at the difficulty already increasing by a giant degree. Down goes Hakui Kiori, and that's going to start gaining a lot more now in favor of Norway as Fuma goes down as well. Indonesia's opening pick is slipping away from their hands already.
Yeah, we're already almost over halfway through as well. This is a very, very short map here. This double FC from Norway starting to do some major work here as Zubs and Yokespie continue to hold on. It's just Dito for the side of Indonesia. Another break to come through for Fuma. Melver on a solid recovery in the no mod as well. And this is just looking very, very solid for Norway. Even if these full combos break for Norway, it's already a 400,000 score lead. There's not enough time left in the map. There's not enough score left here for Dito to accrue. And this is already over, Shiba. It's a 1-0 start for Norway on the break point from Indonesia's first pick. And finally collapse here at the end. Everybody missing. Not a single person gets through that ending. as Norway now rewarded with some extra consistency through the middle of the map, that middle third really deciding the entire pick. 940k on the Nomad from Zubs, the top score there. Again, one of the 3 best players on the Brazilian team last year. Moving to Norway, has been a student there for quite some time. Flag changed earlier this year at COE to play for OWC Team Norway, and has had both some good and bad performances. This one definitely, though, among the better. 940k S rank here on the Nomad, putting up a very, very solid top score for his team.
Yeah, great score there from Zubs. And Yokespie keeping up so much as well. Unfortunately for Indonesia, they couldn't really get any established combo on the board. And yes, this map is very difficulty dense, but considering that this was your opening pick, usually what you would use to guarantee yourself some momentum on the board, yeah, quite a disappointing team performance here from Indonesia. Outside of Dito choking that full combo, everybody else not really able for a good amount of time to build a significant combo, and Norway just destroyed, especially towards the end where it got to its hardest. Zubs and Yokespie held for such a long time, and that just established a very good and potentially promising leader for Norway to make this a bit more one-sided than we imagined. Just to update you guys on the B stream, in case you are watching this A stream right now, the Philippines have just knocked France out of the US World Cup here, beating them 6-3 in their match just now. So congratulations Philippines for winning that match and advancing. Unfortunately France, that is the end of their run in this World Cup, but still a very promising roster for the future. But now back into this one. If you are here now on the A stream, welcome. If you've been watching for an hour, if you've been watching since the start, let's get into this with FreeMod 4 picked here from Norway. I think something that I personally did not expect, Dio. What do you think about this?
Yeah, this is definitely not what I expect, and I feel like this is picked because of the double low AR bans from Indonesia almost, but I really don't think this is that strong of a pick. That said, if you are going to pick the anti-mod free mod after having both low ARs double banned against you, something like this where overmodding Hard Rock is usually bad is potentially pretty solid. You almost want the pick to be more gimmicky if you are Norway, because you thrive in those more gimmicky picks with players like Hunder, with players like Yokespie. But at the same time, Indonesia probably can't overmod this on Hard Rock, which I think is still a good enough reason for Norway to pick this. I definitely would have advocated a different pick for Norway here, something in the speed pool, something tech related. Maybe feels a little stronger to start things off for Norway, but you're already up 1-0. I think you can pick something like this and just see how it goes here for the side of Norway. So not too surprising to see this picked, and maybe could be part of the overall plan here, right? You do get 5 picks for Norway. There's only so much speed and tech in the pool, so having something like this in the pocket can still be good. And I think this will still probably work out well for Norway, just not the expected first pick. Zubs, Melver, Nineric, and Yokespie in for this one. Melver, another returning player, I think from 2022 or 2021 from the side of Norway, is coming back here. Very, very good aim player, and on a map like this should be able to put up a pretty decent score. Of course, Nineric, Yokespie, Zubs returning from the last map. Lifeline, Fuma, Dito, and Hakui Koyori all in once again for Indonesia. I think the exact same roster for Indonesia as we just saw on the previous map, so you're going to expect pretty similar mod combinations for both teams as well.
Yeah, expected, but expected mod selections, I'd like to think it's going to be a similar deal as last time, where, you know, any of these 3 members from Norway could run the hidden, but it will be Zubs this time actually on the hard rank, and Nineric going to be, Nineric sticking onto the normal mod this time, which I'm a little surprised about. I feel like Nineric's precision and aim ability is very, very high, but regardless, happy to see him playing regardless. He's going to be a very strong player on this set. But the mods here from Indo also decently expected, same as last time. Lifeline on that hard rock and Dito on the hidden. Are we going to see breakpoints traded here from both sides, or are Norway going to prove their reasoning for going for this pick? Because, you know, like we said before, we were a little bit surprised about this one, and so far it is going slightly in the favor of Indonesia, as that early miss there from Melva is going to give a very minor combo advantage. Another miss there from Melva, once again going to give Indonesia a bigger combo lead, but we are very early into the map, and we're about to get into this first Ki as the jumps will start to hit a peak. Some of these angles are very, very wide and very difficult, especially if you are rocking that hard rock. keep an eye on both your hard rock combos, as Zubs did go down, but Lifeline right afterwards will get the trade. Hiyori also joins in the misses. A lot of misses coming through here. Both sides, though, do have 2 full combos until Dio misses on the hidden, and that's going to establish that combo lead in favor of Norway as Neneric and Yolkspie hold the line.
Yeah, that was a 5-way miss on that one pattern. 2 people from Norway, 3 people from Indonesia. So only Fuma, Neneric, and Yolkspie making it through that one pattern. Full combos all down for Indo besides Fuma. As Neneric and Yolkspie now in control of the match. You do have a no-mod matching Neneric score from the side of Fuma, but that hidden full combo for Yolkspie is unmatched on the side of Norway. Stumbling over my words a little bit this morning as we get into the second Ki time here, and there goes Fuma. And I think this is the reason really why Norway picked this. You know, despite this being relatively aim focused, it is still awkward, it is still dense, it is still AR8, and being able to overmod Hard Rock on something like this is extremely risky from any team that would want to do that. And Indonesia not able to find these high combos now into the last quarter of the map. Finally, Neneric goes down. Finally, Zubs goes down as well. But Yolkspie, the captain for Norway, the ever so comfortable low AR hidden player for Norway year after year. No surprises to see him holding onto the FC going into the ending.
It feels like Yolkspie lives in a realm like not many other players when it comes to anything low AR. Yolkspie is so comfortable, so versatile if it has low AR on top of that with the hidden plus as well. Yolkspie, unfortunately, will miss on the stream, but I think characteristically one of the, if not the most difficult part of the map here that will end up finally missing out on this full combo, but that doesn't mean much. He and the Neneric have done more than enough work to give Norway another win on the board, and a very dominating one as well. 686k, the only next highest from Indonesia being from Fruma with no mod on 500k, but outside of that, Indonesia, unfortunately, not really able to build anything that can contest those 2 giant scores there from Neneric and Yolkspie.
This 97-year-old hidden player still serves their scores the old-fashioned way. 875k choke for Yolkspie on the hidden, top scoring the map. No problems for him whatsoever on this sort of a pick. And I don't think you can really expect too many problems from a player like Yolkspie. Just a very, very consistent and solid player on these low AR picks, and has been for years and years. Yolkspie is, I think, a big part of the reason why teams are still, even without GN on the team, banning out stuff like the AR5 no mod and the low AR hidden against Norway, because he alone can carry some of these picks for the team.
Yeah, I mean, especially in a little of early stage, right, where some of these pools definitely remain more on that specialist side, even after Indonesia eliminating 2 of the most reading heavy maps. No matter what, if there is any small hint to the reading, Norway can and will abuse that, especially now, despite the loss of GN. You think, you know, okay, no GN makes Norway a little bit less potent. No, these new members, most notably in Zubs, alongside the other members of Norway improving so much on the reading, makes them a just as, if not stronger, maybe, I think the best way to say it is a more diverse hidden roster, maybe slightly less potent on the hidden reading gimmick, but generally a much more potent hidden team all around. And with or without Yolkspie, they can prove it in dividends. And Yolkspie is one of the biggest reasons for their reading proficiency to this day. Indonesia, they need to get a point on the board because they haven't been able to get those opening points done yet. And it is going to be that Hard Rock 3 coming through here for Indo. What are your thoughts on this one, Dio? What do you think?
I mean, I think this is a good pick, right? At the start of the match, we called out, okay, you know, Indonesia, they have advantages on aim, they have advantages on ult, they have advantages on aim control, just looking at the qualifiers, the head-to-heads for these teams throughout the bracket stage so far. Norway, they have more advantages on the reading, they have more advantages on speed, they have some advantages on tech as well. This one, kind of a mix between the aim control, the flow aim, the tech. So it's a little tough to call this one Indonesia favored, but a lot of this map is still very aim control alt focused, very high spacing in this map. So while Norway has had solid scores on flow aim, and especially Axel D-Cell flow aim from the qualifiers Nomad 2, as well as the tech map in qualifiers, Indonesia should still have a very good time on this map. This one kind of melds those skill sets a little bit together. You have a lot of high spacing flow aim and super high curvature flow aim. What do I mean by that? Well, for example, there are quints in this map that are triangles that double back on themselves and repeat. So you have to hit one triangle and then two more notes of the same triangle in that order. So super, super high curvature on those sorts of patterns. Which is very aim control focused. If you're not good at drawing that really tiny circle without error, then you are going to have trouble on those sorts of patterns. There's lots of flowing patterns that start on a stack, and you have to control your nerves, control your cursor, and make sure you hit the stack part before you move into the super high spacing flow of the rest of the pattern. So patterns like that, I think, are going to be very good for Indonesia. I think they can accumulate a good score lead in the first half of this map, but the second half, where it's more snap aim focused with a lot of snappier patterns, as well as a lot more slider tech patterns, should be a little better for Norway. So I think Indonesia, they need a good score lead here in the first half of this map if they want to win this pick, but this is a winnable map for Indonesia. And even then, a lot of that back half, the slider tech is a little more secondary to the still very high spacing linear flowing.
Yeah,
so let's see it. Anthony W, Melver, Neneric, Yokpai for Norway, Lifeline, Dido, Mindfrost, and Hakwi Koyori for Indonesia. Starting us off here, a couple of breaks from Anthony W and Melver in the first part.
Yeah, I agree with you entirely with what you said about this map. I think the one thing is that it's the volatility of this map is so present. It's not only really difficult to act, but also generally really hard to have consistent combo on so many sharp and scary patterns, not just the triangles, but finally opening misses here coming through here from two members of Indonesia and one from Norway. The miss is a bit more scattered here from Norway, with Yokespa being the most recent miss, but early misses from both Anti-W and Melba. Mindfrost ID, Hakukori, and now Lifeline are going to go down here for Indo. It's a very strong back and forth in terms of the misses here. It is only Neneric and Dido battling out with those full combos here, and with those misses more coming through now from Indonesia, Norway are starting to build. Anthony W and Yokespi's recovery is starting to become more present here. These jumps also could get very precise and very scary. It is going to trip up Hakukori, Mindfrost ID as well, and that's going to establish even more of the lead in favor of Norway. Dido needs to hold the fort, and potential for more misses. These sliders, like you said, Dio, they are secondary, but still present, and down goes Neneric. The spacing is high as well. Is there any hope here for Indonesia, as Anthony W is on his own with the significant combo, but Dido trades the miss as well, and that in turn spells the end here for Indonesia. Nothing to fight with, nothing to battle with, despite Dido putting up such a great fight, despite Indonesia on paper having such a solid roster for this. Norway still stand tall. Norway, man, Yokespi's recovery is also so solid, and Eric's score early on with Anti-W by his side, still solid enough to give Norway another breakpoint in a row.
It's a bloodbath here, Shiba. Not a single score above 700k from either team. I think 650-ish. Probably the ending score here for Neneric actually drops down to 625k. But unfortunately, Indonesia not able to make good enough use of that first half of the map. You can see there where they started to struggle. It was in that middle. For Dido, it was at the ending. For Hakwi Koyori, it was nearer the ending. But for the top scorers on Norway, for Anthony W in particular, it was in that first half. Neneric, yeah, of course, struggled a little bit more in that second half as well. But the map played out really as we expected. And unfortunately, Indonesia just not able to take advantage of that first half with the aim control focus as much as they needed to in order to take the point, with both Anthony W and Neneric getting above that 600k mark on this pick. Norway now off to a 3-0 lead to start things off, and that's 2 breakpoints as well. That's not just, hey, they got 1 breakpoint on Indonesia's first pick. That is now 2 in a row for Norway going into their next pick. And after a map like that, I think you can be a little more confident picking into stuff like the Nomad 4, like the Hidden 3. You haven't even picked into any of the speed yet. There's still the DT1, the DT3, the Fremod 2, the Nomad 2, all still remaining. I think Nomad 2 in particular, of extremely Norway favored map. The Axel D-Cell flow aim plus 220 BPM death streams in that map is obscenely difficult for a lot of players to find their stamina on, and having a player like Neneric on the side of Norway might just be enough to solo carry that map for them. But that said, there's options here, right? You have 2 hiddens remaining, you have a couple of DT speed picks, you have the free mod speed, you have the no mod speed stamina, and you have this no mod 4 remaining for Norway. So the fact that these picks have gone the way they've already gone is really, really good for this Norwegian team. Whereas Indonesia, I mean, you're looking at the no mod 3, you're looking at the Hard Rock 2, you're looking at the DT2 and maybe DT4, and you're potentially looking at Big Black if you are Indonesia after this. But for now, it is going to be that no mod 2 after all. It's the Neneric show here on this map. 220 BPM, Death Stream stamina, plus Axel D-Cell flow aim. It does not get more specialized than this when it comes to streams in the OS World Cup. And Neneric as a player is somebody you have to be on the lookout for on this sort of map. That said, there are still other very good stream players and speed players on the side of Norway. You're looking at Zubs potentially, you're looking at Nanalini potentially, and you're looking at players like Hunder as well on speed to come in, potentially Fjell as well to stay in for this map. But honestly, my bets are on Hunder, Nanalini, potentially Zubs to stay in for this alongside Neneric. Going to be one of the first maps we see with no Yolkspie from the side of Norway. Definitely not his skill set on this one.
Yeah, with or without Yolkspie, this Norway roster lineup here is quite terrifying. Indonesia, though, do have a couple potential members here. I think all 4 of the roster members that are probably going to be on this Indonesia team, I think the 4th one most likely going to be Dido. But still, these players here from Indonesia are solid. I mean, Lifeline, although we raised a few question marks about Lifeline's consistency in tournaments, it's safe to say that this is one of his strongest skill sets. He loves this raw speed, and although it's 220, it's not as high. That stamina is massively in his favor from having so much experience playing on such high BPM maps. Styx as well has shown good proficiency. Mindfrost ID is a clear pick for one of the stronger stamina players. Rosamund Lovelock coming in as the 4th instead of Dido, which is fair, another player who has potential, but this Norwegian pick makes a lot of sense here. Zubs, Fjell, and Hunder to join Neneric. You absolutely must look at Neneric. He is far and away the biggest candidate to set the highest score in this. I think indisputably the strongest speed player in the tournament scene, as I mentioned earlier on. He, regardless of scaling, regardless of what level, regardless of what star rating, Neneric always pulls the stops and stuff like this. Very few times do you see him struggle on this type of speed. So Norway, with Neneric on their side, with the rest of the lineup, have a lot of potential to do some very explosive damage on this stamina map. The curvature on these streams are quite high, so that's going to be usually where you're going to be seeing the slip-ups here, outside of that obvious raw speed difference, which I don't think both teams are going to struggle too hard on. We've seen a lot of players struggle on the occasional hits on the aim, but for the most part, it's decently chill. But the flow aim, the curvature of some of the streams, and the occasional, aim jump scare for our speed players is going to be really where it hits the hardest, as we go into our first opening stamina intensive section where these streams start to really hit you in that tapping department. And it seems like both sides looking pretty solid. Only an early opening miss here from Mindfrost ID in this first quarter, but the recovery still massively in his favor, as Norway have a decently established lead, but no slip-ups just yet, as all 4 members full combo through that section.
Yeah, it's still looking good for Norway at the moment. You do still have, of course, Lifeline on the FC, Rosemary Lovelock on the FC for Indonesia, Styx on the reverse choke, and Mindfrost on a good recovery. But this almost 4-way for Norway is doing some major work, and there goes Lifeline. I was wondering when we were going to see one of these lower AC FCs dropped, and there's the first to go from Lifeline. Zubs feels almost next on the chopping block here at 94, 95 accuracy, is struggling with that stamina a little bit. The rest of Norway still up at the 98, 99 marks as Lifeline drops once again. And unfortunately now it's just the 1 FC for Indonesia. Rosemary Lovelock on that 98% AC. Styx on the reverse choke, Mindfrost on the good recovery, but this 3-way FC plus reverse choke from Fjell on the side of Norway is looking really, really strong here. 2/3 of the way in. How long can Norway hold, and can Indonesia make the comeback happen? But there goes Rosemary Lovelock, no. And that is really tough for Indonesia now. They're going to need pretty much a full collapse from Norway if they want to take this pick now with Lifeline and Rosemary Lovelock both dropping those high combos, and Lifeline dropping quite a lot of act here in the last quarter. There goes Styx, and I think that's the map, Shiba.
Oh my god, Norway, how are you still holding on to this 4-way? This is absolutely exceptional here. Finally, Fjell drops finally a break in that insane set there from that team. But yeah, Dio, like you were saying, it just gets worse and worse for Indonesia. Every time we see a little blip of potential, it just slips away. The consistency can't stay, and Norway are capitalizing beautifully in this one. Look at these accuracies, look at these combos. As we get into the ending section, the stream does get at its peak, but it's all but over here. Norway win, there's no issue here. Even if they collapse here, there's not much you can do. Mindfrost ID, the last man standing, and even so, that's a reverse choke. Nothing to contest the rest of these 3 combos from Norway, and that is a 3-way full combo to get themselves another win on the board. These accuracies are solid. Neneric, of course, never ceases to impress with probably going to be one of, if not the highest scores in this No More 2.
99.78% act for Neneric, 5 100s. You expect greatness from a player like him on a map like this, but it's still extremely impressive every time you see it. The 5x100 full combo comes through, and that's not even the best part, Shiba. The rest of the team is still there. The lowest score on Norway, 700k from Fjell, a break right at the start and some breaks at the end. Zubs with a slider break at the end of the map, and Hunder clutching out the second full combo for Norway. Just a ridiculously strong team score for them here, and a well over 1 million points difference in their favor on that map, as Norway asserting dominance on the speed picks. I think, you know, Indonesia, obviously, I think are going to avoid the speed anyway without that map being picked and that result coming through. But that's just going to solidify in their minds that they are not picking this DT1, this DT3, or this free mod 2. And Norway, I think, now can feel very, very confident going into something like the DT3, like the free mod 2, potentially the DT1 a little later on. But those 2 speed-focused maps that are left in the pool, I feel like should be very strong picks for Norway now. As Indonesia, they are massively on the back foot, down 4-0, down 2 breakpoints. They need to put themselves on the board with this pick. I've been talking about this Nomad 3 through a lot of this match, the Hard Rock 2 as well, the DT2, the DT4, potentially free mod 3 in the Big Black, but it's going to be that Nomad 3, Nosho Sakuretsu Girl. This is another custom. By the way, that last map, Nomad 2, was also custom, thanks to I Am Tick Rate for that one. And thanks to Mata and DK Blaze for this one. Relulili featuring Hatsune Miku and Megpoid Gumi, Nosho Sakuretsu Girl. Roughly translates to Brain Fluid Explosion Girl, which I think is probably Aneurysm Girl? Probably?
I remember you guys having this conversation.
Need some Japanese people to, like, fact check that maybe this is actually just Aneurysm Girl instead of Brain Fluid Explosion as the literal translation. This one is very, very aim control focused. You do have some flow aim patterns in this map. You do have, you know, some more straightforward things like that, but it's a lot more focused on the snap aim, the density reading, the overlapping patterns in this map, and the note chains in this are just so ridiculously long at 155 BPM. The fact that this is OD 9.6 is a requirement. That higher OD is necessary to keep players from just note blocking out of entire patterns on this map. As these long note chains with how they overlap on top of each other can be really, really difficult to get back onto if you are note blocking at all. So this is going to be a tricky one here for sure. Lots of cuts, lots of just every type of aim control under the sun that you can imagine in this map.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say outside of the fact that, you know, on top of what you've already said, I mean, this map is volatile. This map is very tricky, like you already mentioned. So many moments where you could just slip up a tiny bit and cause a massive impact. Lots of these scary wiggle sections, lots of these brutal cut flow sections. I think most notably one of the hardest parts of this map is around the 2/3 mark, where you have this insane cut flow section that ramps up harder than I think the most of the map can really bear to show you. It is a tough, spontaneous, difficult map. And if you have that control factor, and if you've practiced this one, you definitely have the edge. I feel like what's not been mentioned in this map is that I feel like, you know, if you get that practice on, you can really make the most of this. If you are aware of those tricks that this map pulls on you, you can definitely come out on top. And this is Indonesia's really last hurrah. If they lose this, they are out of the Yost World Cup. They need to win this pick to try and get some momentum somewhere, because every single punch they've tried to pull on Norway has been a swing and a miss, with Norway swinging back 10 times harder. It needs to be now. And so far, it's pretty even at the moment, with an early miss there from Lifeline, Styx, and Akuri Fiori, but both very early. Lifeline being the most recent break, and traded by 3 members here from Norway. So it's a good start in the combo game so far. It's just Melva on his own, with Zubs and Eric and Yokespy going down earlier on. Melva now misses, with no combos now for Norway in terms of the full combos here, with Akuri Fiori, Dido, and Styx still having some very high scores that can gain that more and more as long as they keep on holding.
All right, here we go into the first Ki time, Shiba. It's still a couple, one FC actually intact for Dido. The reverse choke for Hakubi Kiori still holding strong. There goes Styx and Melver. It is traded. Better trade for Norway. There goes Dido, Hakubi Kiori, Lifeline, team wipe for Indonesia at the end of the first Ki time. It's disaster for the Indonesian squad at the end of this first Ki time. It looked good. It looked good for so long, but it just is not meant to be, it feels like, halfway through now. And a massive combo lead for Norway. Zubs, Yokespy, and Neneric all holding combo through the end of that first Ki time, and also holding through these higher spacing flow aim patterns. They're going to see the combos. They're going to know that they just win if they are able to hold for a little while on this map.
This is what I was talking about, dear. This is what I meant about how volatile and messed up this map can be. And it just constantly fights back against Indonesia. It's never against Norway. These guys just so capable, so much more consistent. And with this brutal couplo session coming through here, one of the hardest parts of the map here, a lot of people are starting to go down. Zubs and Eric both miss. Lifeline also goes down. So a few combos still gaining now for Indo as Nokespy joins in the misses. These recoveries from Norway are crumbling, and it's just Melva to hit the entire thing. Though Styx does get that trade, but it's still hugely in favor of Indonesia. Now, some hope here, Dio. Dido and Hakubi Kiori all holding on. 1/3, a little bit scary, but not scary enough to lead to those 2 misses. Next Ki time to come through. Are we going to see Indo get this flip? They need to get this done.
There goes Melver!
They are out. Melver drops. Recovery is down for Norway. Zubs and Yokespy left to hold with not a lot of combo. Dido and Hakubi Kiori slowly but surely are gaining this intact. A little bit of time left, but not a lot. 6 misses, but Lifeline with that back on the recovery, able to support Dido and Hakubi Kiori as these recoveries are exceptional. Down goes Hakubi Kiori, but Dido still holds. Yokespy still on the side, but there's not a lot of time left. Still 30k though. If anybody misses there, down goes Lifeline, but it's still Dido. He needs to hold the line. The recoveries from Norway are still there, still possible, but Dido still holds, and Indonesia finally with some hope in this match.
Peak Dido is finally back, baby. We've had some people calling out Dido as one of these players to watch on the side of Indonesia for a while now, saying he is back, and finally some signs of life from this Indonesian roster as Dido puts up nearly 600k to top score the map by over 100,000. The next best player also on his team from Hakubi Kiori. This is why we call out these aim control picks as very good for Indonesia. These two in particular, across a ton of different community tournaments, they are always top performers in so many of their matches. And that is them showing off just how good they can be. Finally, a point on the board for Indonesia, as that Nomad 3 works out very, very well for them. A solid pick. And Shiba, the aim control primary skill set, the isolated aim control, is finally where Indonesia takes a point. You're going to be expecting more of that from them as this match goes on. Norway, on the other hand, complete opposite end of the spectrum. They're going into the speed almost certainly here. The DT3 or the Fremod 2, the best remaining options for Norway after what we saw on that Nomad 2, as Indonesia finally strike back, get a point on the board, and win their own pick. That said, they're still down 4-1, right? This is still not a good game state for Indonesia. but it's a welcome sign of life from a team that has had a lot of struggles so far during this bracket stage in the US World Cup to really show what they're capable of. Norway, though, aside from the expectations, not going for the speed pick here. Their third pick going to be into the Hidden 3, and this is another one of those picks that I think actually goes very well. Norway ahead on Hidden in both qualifier Hidden maps. Both of their Hidden scores, in fact, better than both Hidden scores from Indonesia. And that's also true on the tech pick in qualifiers, Nomad 4 and Nyx Metropolis from Polisha. So this one, symmetric, a Hidden 200 BPM streamy tech pick. Kind of a meld of those skill sets, and with it being Hidden tech, I think is a very, very good shout for Norway. So you're going to expect Norway to do pretty solidly on this map. But that said, I do still think Indonesia, a lot of solid Hidden players on this team. They do have players like Vito who should be pretty comfortable on this. Hakui Koyori, again, a player who, generally speaking, does very well on these Hiddens in community tournaments. Rosemi Lovelock probably in for this as well. Don't know exactly who's going to be their fourth. Looks like it's going to be Fuma coming in for this, as Norway, though, obviously still some very, very good Hidden players here. Zub's a great Hidden tech player. Yolkspie, obviously extremely strong on this sort of thing as well. I'd be a little surprised to not see Anthony W in for this, but it is a Hidden rather than Nomad. So Melver and Neneric rounding out the roster does still make sense for Norway here. I do think this will be a little closer than some of the speed picks, Shiba, so let's see if Indonesia can continue to push this momentum forward and capitalize on that last win, take themselves back a breakpoint on this Hidden 3.
Yeah, I think it's a big note about this one, outside of what you've already mentioned, is that although this on paper is one of Norway's kind of bread and butter maps, right, it kind of collides those two big strengths that they have in both tapping mechanics and that raw tech skill, right? With Hidden applied as well. 200 BPM, it's to the degree where you still have that mechanics implied, but it's not too difficult to the degree where some of your more specialized Hidden players are not able to play, which is why we see Yolkspie coming in. But that is merely what we would see from a one-eyed perspective, just looking at Norway, right? Indonesia, still very much a team capable of getting an upset pick on this one, which makes this quite exciting to see. I look forward to see if we're going to be seeing something special here. We're going to be very quickly going into this difficult part with the first half of this map more emphasized with its bursts and its streams. You'll still see the obvious tech implications on this one, but very much more emphasized on these bursts. A lot of open misses already. Fuma and Zubs go down to first start this off. Still three-way full combos from both sides as it still continues to go into these mechanics. Still see some of these sliders, still some of these bursts. Rosemi Lovelock next to the drop here for Indo. And with that to come through, it's going to be advantage solidified here for Norway. Zubs, another miss there, but it remains to be that three-way full combo. A lot more of these streams to come through. Nobody misses, but Indonesia has an established lead. Zubs and Rosemi Lovelock, despite both struggling, still having that lead intact, most likely from this accuracy difference.
Yeah, Rosemi actually did drop the full combo there. Fuma goes down as well. Neneric and Hakui Koyori trade. Zubs also goes down, but it's only one full combo left for Indonesia at the halfway mark, and two on Melver and Yolkspie, I believe, still left for Norway. Yolkspie, though, on 93% accuracy here. Really struggling with the 200 BPM streams in this map, but able to mash his way through and keep the combo intact. And if it pays off as he's able to full combo, it's going to be a massive dividend for Norway. But if he breaks, his score is going to be very, very low. So he has to hold, but it might not even matter. There goes Tito, there goes Yolkspie, and Melver is still holding strong for Norway. Melver has been a rock for this team. Hasn't had too much of a chance to shine in this match yet, but don't let that fool you. He has had a massive performance in the US World Cup for Norway so far, has been a clutch player when it matters, just like now on the Hidden 3.
Damn straight. Melva, a player in a thankless role, forced to play so many maps, but so few opportunities to really put his name on the spotlight. But this is the map where it shows the case. He finally goes down, but he leads the lobby massively here. 200k, 100k higher than Dito's next score, and Norway will once again win on that map. And we thought this had potential to be close, but after the fall aparts from Indo and Melva really shining through, it ends up being another map win here for Norway. One win away from advancing into the next stage. An admirable score attempt here from Dido, but the rest of Indonesia in a similar boat here, kind of mid of the pack scores of 380k, 300k. Dido, again, we said before where he can really shine and is one of those players that has improved a lot. The prime Dido has been back, but unfortunately, the rest of his team not really able to join him in that stride, in that atmosphere, as Norway just collectively, as a roster, on top of that crazy individual performance from Melva, just get the win. And it's another opportunity, it's another part where Indonesia have their back against the wall. They need to pick something that gets them the win, and it's gonna be DT3? Oh boy.
That's surprising to me.
Yeah, me too.
All right,
wow.
Well, let's talk about this pick and why Indonesia might want to go for this. It is AR 10.3, OD 9.8, CS 3.5, just 273 BPM burst speed, right? There's not a lot else going on here. It is relatively high star rating, but that doesn't really matter. Speed is still way overrated in terms of star rating. And this is a relatively simple, relatively straightforward, and actually relatively easy map in this quarterfinals pool. You look at the speed plays for both of these teams, and while, yes, Norway does have the on-paper advantage on speed stamina by a pretty wide margin, Neneric, Nanalini, Hunder especially on those types of maps, doing very, very well for them. If you look at qualifiers, Indonesia, 2 of their scores beating Norway's worst score on the DT3 in qualifiers. Norway has the higher cap, but Indonesia with the higher skill floor. So it may be something to do with that as well. Unfortunately, not too much else to go off in terms of speed burst consistency throughout the bracket stage. You look at no-mod speed in the no-mod 2 in round of 32. You look at free-mod speed in the round of 16. And you do see both of those going to Norway. But again, DT speed last round in the DT2, 270 BPM, Chain Destruction in that double time 2 slot is an on-paper win for Indonesia. So despite the no-mod 2 outcome here, Indonesia saying, let's just pick into it anyway. What do we have to lose? We are already down match point. We have to win at least 4 more of our own picks here, or 3 more of our own picks here, just in order to get to tiebreaker. I think they only actually have 2 picks left, so it'd be 2 breakpoints and 2 of their own picks left. So they have to get through this eventually, I feel like. So order not really mattering. You have to win every pick from here on out. You expect this to come up at some point. May as well just pick it and get it over with here. Hakui Koyori, Lifeline, Rosemi Lovelock, and Styx in for Indonesia. Whereas Nanalini, Fjell, Neneric, and Hunder in for Norway on this. Zubs stepping out on the super high BPM DT pick here for Nanalini.
Yeah, when you're back against the wall, when you're 1 point away from defeat, your pick ordering strategy does not mean anything anymore. You just got to go with what you're comfy on. You just got to go with what you like. And if Indonesia like this, damn well, they will go for it. You're looking at so many members here from Indonesia who performed so well on Chain Destruction last week that have a lot of potential to still perform great. But Norway are still putting up a very valiant fight. Of course, you know, you dare to pick a speed map into Neneric. You are asking for a tough fight. But so far, it's looking very close. Rosemi, Lovelock, and Hunder both trading breaks with an early misstep from Fjell, going to establish a decent combat advantage in the favor of Indonesia. It seems to just be accuracy that's keeping Indonesia at just arm's reach of that lead as it's starting to flicker and more get into it. And as we get into more stamina streams, these streams get a little bit more intense, and Hakui Koyori does miss. And that in turn evens out the combo game just a little bit. But as Lifelines and Styx combos do start to scale up a little bit. Whoa, no! What are those misses? What was that curse? What kind of dark magic can a voice really have? How do those misses come through? It is just Neneric now on his own. And as the ending comes through, what more do you have for Indo? It's just Rosemi Lovelock.
It's Rosemi Lovelock, and that's really it. And Rosemi's only able to match Hunder on the side of Norway. At that, Hunder has 99 accuracy. He might have found a break, but the comfort on this map is still there. He does find another one. What power does the voice have? Apparently a lot, Shiba, as even Hunder falls victim to the caster curse there. There goes Rosemi Lovelock as well. Speak their name and they break, but there's only so much power involved as Neneric is still holding this 99.7 accuracy FC going into the ending. And that is the deciding factor. You picked speed into Neneric. You need someone to match him. And that someone on the side of Indonesia does not exist. Nineric will clutch out the FC, 99.6 AC here at the end of the map, and he will not only clutch out the FC, but clutch out the win for Norway, 6-1 over Indonesia, guaranteeing Norway a top 16 finish in the OS World Cup.
Nineric, so clean, too clean on a map like this. Some will say Nineric doing Nineric things, and to that, I agree with you, man. That is a crazy score from Nineric, but, you know, from someone like him, what more could you expect? Indonesia challenged the greatest speed tournament player of our era, and in turn, fall. And that spells the end of their OS World Cup run here in 2024. Norway are your victors and will advance into the next stage of this losers bracket. A team with so much potential to still do more, even after dominating a team like Indonesia. I think a team that some people assumed to be a much closer fight, but not going to be the case. Norway, effectively, outside of a couple maps, annihilate Indonesia on so many maps. This team has a lot of potential to be really explosive into the next coming matches. And yeah, I'm excited to see what Norway can do in the future. Thank you, Indonesia, for playing a couple moments of brilliance here and a couple very notable, memorable moments for me, at least, in this match. But unfortunately, not enough for them to advance and carry on their run here at the OS World Cup.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Indonesia, but that will be the end of their OS World Cup 2024 journey. They will be knocked out of the tournament by Norway, who advance into the next round of losers bracket to face the winner of China versus Finland. That is the next match coming up here in just about 10 minutes. We've got a string of bangers coming up here. China versus Finland up next, Sweden versus Thailand after that, Brazil versus Ukraine after that, and then finally Romania versus Poland. And if Sweden wins this match, their matchup versus Chile, their potential match, would also be at 20 UTC today, 2 hours after Romania versus Poland. So quite a lot of matches still left to go here at the OS World Cup. There's a lot of teams to choose from to support. There's a lot of players who want your support as well, both in the Twitch chat and on the OS store. Go ahead and check out the OS World Cup banners on the OS store if you want to support your favorite teams. The funds from those banners go toward both the teams themselves and the overall prize pool. And if you purchase a banner for the team that ends up winning the OS World Cup in 2024, that banner will stick around on your profile until the next OS World Cup in 2025, or until you decide to purchase another banner for one of the other game mode World Cups in either Taiko, Mania, or Catch. So go ahead and check out those banners. Go ahead and support your favorite teams, and don't go anywhere. We're going to be back very soon with China versus Finland, followed by very many more matches here on OS Live. I've been Dio. He's been Sad Shiba. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to Indonesia for playing the OS World Cup 2024. And congratulations once again to Norway on making it into the top 16. We'll see you back here soon.
See you soon.